Mike Fisher, the Fish Report. And of course, if you're a Cowboy fan or a football fan, you know our guest here. This is Brian Broaddus of 105.3 The Fan, longtime Cowboys and NFL scout and executive. Brian, thank you for taking a few minutes and goofing around with us here.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. Appreciate you having me here.
You've got your Broaddus big board out on 1053thefan.com. And I know that you've talked about some debate in the league about who the number one guy is, but you got Trevor Lawrence at number one. And then you waste no time saying, and that's enough with the quarterbacks. Give me an offensive lineman and give me a tight end. That tells me that if one of those guys, Sewell or Pitts, are at 10, the Cowboys, if they're true to their word and true to their board, just have to take them, right?
Yeah, I think that they're at the point in time where they're in the room right now. I don't believe they feel like that either Pitts or Sewell is going to be there for them. And the more I'm digging in on it, the more I'm starting to learn about there's a divide in the room about Surtain and there's a divide in the room about Horn. And, you get a faction of the coaches that want to believe that that Horn would be their guy. I think the scouts are looking at Surtain right now. It's really a 50-50 split on which way they would go. I think the only way they would come off the cornerback is if that, say, Sewell or Pitts were there. Again, like you mentioned, though, I just don't feel like either one of those guys is going to be there. I don't think Slater takes them off that cornerback pick. I think they think that Slater's a guard, and so they're not gonna come after that. I was hearing some rumors today before I went on my show at 105.3 that actually that maybe the Cowboys were in a situation of maybe trading up because they were worried about maybe losing Surtain. Again, that's just kind of some talk that's going on right now. But I do know that they're in a situation where they're just trying to figure out Horn, Surtain, which one of those guys they want to take.
Maybe talking to Detroit at 7, for instance.
Yeah, that's the idea. They're worried about and if you're as you do these mock drafts, as you study these things, every time that we've ever done one, myself, Jeff Kavanaugh on 105.3, it's been 9 offensive players, and the first defensive player was taken at Dallas. So, that's maybe where if you're a team that's behind the Cowboys, I think the Giants are looking at defensive end. I'm not sure what Philadelphia is looking at here. It might be skill. They keep talking about skill, or they keep talking about corner. But maybe there's a team that would jump ahead of Dallas. We've talked about it seems like that Atlanta's pick is for sale at 4. The Detroit pick at 7 could be for sale, and the picks at 8 and 9 could be for sale. So those are some spots that if you're the Cowboys and a team wants to jump ahead of them and try and grab the best corner that they feel like, again, the Cowboys could be totally comfortable taking either Horn or Surtain. Maybe there's some war rooms that are the same way. They've got Horn as the top guy. They got Surtain as the top guy. Now that Farley's got the back problem, then he's out of that mix. So it's just a matter of the Cowboys, maybe they were trying to move up a little bit to keep somebody from trading ahead of them to grab a cornerback.
Okay, here's my one problem with that. And the Cowboys, by moving from 10 to 7, they might have to pitch in a third-round pick maybe, right?
Pick 75 would get you there, yeah.
Okay. If you look at your big board and then look at the logic, there's going to be so many players that go ahead of Dallas that don't factor in here. Aren't they going to be left with Surtain, Horn, and Slater, let's say? And so why not settle on those guys and keep your third round and don't give up any more picks?
Yeah, but it might be as a consensus that I don't think they're going to take Slater. I just don't. I think this is going to come down to if one of those offensive linemen are there. I think if it's Sewell, I think they take him. If it comes down to Slater and Horn and Surtain, I think the lineman's out of the mix there too. There's people that believe that Slater could be the next Zach Martin if you leave him at guard. If you play him at tackle, that might not be the case. I mean, we did see him block Chase Young at Ohio State. A couple seasons, or not this season, but last season, he opted out this year. So, yeah, I mean, I kind of feel like that he could probably play tackle, but there's people that believe that he is going to be a better guard. And I don't know if that guard would take them out of draft. And like I say, they might, as a consensus, feel like Surtain is our guy. Then all of a sudden somebody jumps ahead of them and takes Surtain. Then it's going to look at each other like, well, damn, well, let's take Horn. And it's like, oh, okay, but we tried to put ourselves in position, or we were going to take Surtain, and now he's gone. If they settle on Horn, maybe that's okay to them. But if you get a consensus in your room that says we like Surtain better, and then he ends up getting taken ahead of you, then you better be prepared for what could happen.
What if you end up with your guy, relatively speaking, at 10? Do you like the idea of then packaging 44 with something and trying to jump back into the 20s and strike twice in the first round?
Yeah, I think that, to me, that is a little bit harder to do than say to trade up 3 spots and try and go get your guy. I think that it used to be with the 5th-year option that people didn't want to let you back in because they always wanted that extra 5th year. Well, now the 5th year, because of the collective bargaining agreement, is now guaranteed. So if that, now teams are not worrying about that as much when they're doing these draft picks. So I just feel like, though, that you've got to, now the way that the board, and I've looked at about 180 players so far, and so where I see a lot of the value on the board is in the 2nd, 3rd, 4th round. I don't know if I'm interested now in moving 44 and 75. I'll stand there and make picks if I have to, because I think anything in, now you might get somebody to come back to you at 44 if you could get up into the 20s. But yeah, some teams might see there's just too much value right there, picking 23, 24, 25 to let you back in with your 44 and 75.
Brian BROADDUS of 105 Through the Fan, who of course keys our coverage, and the fans' coverage of the Cowboys and the NFL draft is unparalleled. We'll be inside the Star, and we'll be having our usual annual fun. Is that thing for you and the draft in general, Brian? Is it half like Christmas and half nightmare?
No, it's a pain in the ass. No, it really is. It's, I mean, I say that, but it's like 18 hours. I mean, it's very stressful. I mean, to me, because the whole idea is when I was involved, when you're with team building and when you're with a team, that's exciting. And the thing with the actual draft itself, to present it's very stressful, because you want to make sure that you give every player and every pick. To me, it's not just about covering the Dallas Cowboys. It's about covering all the picks. And, there's a responsibility to that. I mean, and I take it as, I know we're on 105.3. I know we're on DallasCowboys.com. I mean, that's why I've never left that room. There's those guys, the Dane Bruglers, the David Hellmans, the Jeff Kavanaughs, Kevin Turners, these guys, we stay in that room because it's such a responsibility to, because I say it's not all about just the Dallas Cowboy fans. It's about every fan that listens to us. It says, hey, I turned you guys up, and I turned down the NFL network because you guys were giving me more insight about the players than what the television stuff was. So in actuality, yeah, it's a pain in the ass because of the responsibility that we have to try and do it.
What's your Brian Broaddus big board Cowboys dream scenario, 1st and 2nd round?
Come on, you got a better question than that, don't you?
No, everything goes just your way.
Yeah, I personally feel like, though, that if they could grab one of those corners, and I personally myself like Horn over Surtain, but I wouldn't have a problem with that. And I would like to see them grab some safety. I'd like to see them try and help this defense. They need to find a way to get better up the middle. They need to find a way to get a true free safety, and I think this will operate. There'll be some guys there where that's, I'm in my mock draft that I did today for the draft show. I have the kid Morig from TCU. I've got him trying to stretch to 44. I don't know if I can get him there. There's been safeties in the past that I didn't think would get there and made it. I don't know if Grant from Central Florida makes it. He's another one of my safeties. Holland is another kid from Oregon I really, really like. I would like for them to be able to take at 44 one of those free safeties. If they could grab a corner, great. If they can grab a true free safety at 44, that would be ideal for me.
Brian Broaddus, you can get him on Twitter, of course, on GBag Nation afternoons on 105.3 The Fan, and then on the draft show and DallasCowboys.com. Simply the best, BB. Thank you.
Appreciate it, man. Take care.